Well, hello. And hey, you guys, I am doing both things today. I'm doing Facebook, actually YouTube, and Instagram as well. So hello, Instagram. I have not been doing many videos, lives, I should say, on Instagram. And if you think you find it helpful, then I will commit to making them more often. So just let me know whether that is helpful for you. So yeah, we decided to talk about how to take supplements, when to take supplements, because we've just received so many questions from you after my book came out, and Overcoming Estrogen Dominance. You might have seen the book, and it's not available on Amazon now. It's a book I dedicated to all women struggling with estrogen dominance, right? And so with that, many of you have purchased supplements from us, from our store, from Wellena. And then with that came a lot of questions like, how do I take it? Do I take it together? Do I take it away? How much do I know? Do I, all that kind of stuff. So I really want to talk about that today. And so maybe let's start off with the biggest one, which is the common question we get. Do I take the supplement in the morning or at night? Okay. And so first of all, oftentimes we don't put that on the label. I'm not sure why, to be perfectly honest. But there's certain supplements you might want to avoid taking in the morning first thing. Actually, the other way around. There's certain supplements you want to avoid taking at night because they can be stimulating. And so the big one that gives you a lot of energy is Meg Energy. And so that's it's the form of magnesium that I'm showing you right here. Is on Instagram is upside down, but Meg Energy. So the form of magnesium here is called magnesium malate, M-A-L-A-T-E. And this form of magnesium is wonderful. It's highly bioavailable. It's really great for balancing your electrolytes as well. It's great for like if you're exercising in the morning, taking that right after your workout is actually going to help a lot with your recovery. So I'm curious if anybody here is a Pelotoner. How many of you here are Pelotoners? So that's oftentimes people do that and then feel a bit sore afterwards. So magnesium malate can definitely help. The only thing with malate is that it's highly energizing. So you might want to be mindful of that. And this is the reason why I take my magnesium energy first thing in the morning. And I have to tell you, I discovered it a hard way. Because I started taking the magnesium, this is like probably 4 years ago, when we first launched our supplements, and I was just telling our one of our formulators, I said, I just can't sleep at night. Like I've been just be wide awake until 3 o'clock in the morning last night, 4 o'clock, and I said, I don't know, I've just started taking this magnesium, and she says, what form? I said malate. She's like, oh, that's what it is. It's a stimulating kind of magnesium. So. Really great one, but take it first thing in the morning. The other one that's highly energizing is B vitamins. Can be energizing for a lot of people, right? So, and both on your mind as well as just giving you energy. So B12, B1, which are often found in your B supplements. I didn't bring my B. Ours is called B Maximus, and so you've got all the B vitamins in there. And it's a wonderful supplement, and any B that you take, again, you don't want to take them at night. You want to take them first thing in the morning. Now, another common question we get is, do you take supplements before a meal or after a meal? Okay, and the answer is it's gonna be written on the product label if it matters. Okay, so if, for example, our digestive enzymes, okay. Our digestive enzymes here will say, take it before a meal. And if you were to take something on an empty stomach, it will tell you take on an empty stomach. Digestive enzymes is an interesting one because if you're taking after a meal or just before a meal, it's going to help you with digestion of the food. But if you take digestive enzymes on an empty stomach, for example, then it's actually going to be acting more as an enzyme systemically, just reducing your inflammation in the overall body, but it's not necessarily going to work on your digestion. So it's quite an interesting factoid about digestive enzymes. But a lot of supplements, you do take them with meals just because they can just be a little bit too tough on you on an empty stomach, okay? Above all of this is just respecting your own bio-individuality when it comes to supplements. We all are different, okay? And, I can take a whole heaps of supplements on an empty stomach and be perfectly fine. But somebody else who might be having more sensitive stomach, right, is gonna feel like I really have a horrendous stomach ache, and you don't want to do that. So you have to be kind of respectful of your own individuality and how sensitive your body is. Another thing I want to talk about is, one of the kits that we have is our estrogen reset kit. And in the estrogen reset kit, we had calcium D-glucarate. So first of all, we had DIM. Okay, many of you know DIM, DIM, dialdehydomethane. And DIM is, there's a bit of a reflection. So DIL stands for dialdehydomethane, and it helps you with phase 1 liver detoxification when it comes to estrogen metabolism. Okay, so for those of you who have a lot of estrogen dominant symptoms, this is our baseline kit. Beyond your diet, of course, so with your good diet, when you're changing your diet, then you're adding those supplements. So DIM upregulates your phase 1 liver detoxification to get rid of estrogens. And then you have 2 other supplements that comes in that kit, and that's your calcium D-glucarate as well as Broca Power, which is basically sulforaphane. And so they come as a kit of 3. These 2 are going to help you to upregulate phase 2 liver detoxification. Very important. For those of you who've taken DIM before and you said, you know what, I just didn't feel good. Like it didn't help me. Actually, it made my symptoms even worse. And the reason could be is because you just upregulated your phase 1 liver detoxification. You need support for phase 2. And this is where calcium D-glucarate and Broca Power can really be super helpful. And so this kit has sold to, many of you have purchased this kit because it's a big part of our book story. And Brittany, if we could maybe pop the link to the kit. The reason is that, and so the question that we are getting a lot from you guys is, do I take them together or separately? So they were intended to be taken together. However, I think it's a really good question now, reflecting on it now, is that especially for those of you who are sensitive to supplements, right? You know yourself, every time you take something new, your body responds to it. And not always is it a positive response, right? Then I would suggest is that you take one thing at a time, all right? And my preference is that you start off actually with Broca Power. So this one here, the sulforaphane, because is the safest one. I wouldn't say safest, is the least that's super beneficial without like moving things too much in there, okay? And then you proceed to taking calcium D-glucarate that also acts in your liver. Is just an amazing product. And then only then lastly you start taking DIM. So when you introduce one after the other and you feel like you don't really have any symptoms, you're not reacting to anything negatively, then you introduce the other one. And this could be within 3 days to a week, depending on typically how you react to supplements, okay? And for those of you who are like, anything I take doesn't really matter, then that's okay. Then you can take all these 3 supplements at the same time. What I would not recommend is to start off with DIM, because a lot of people already have an upregulated liver phase 1 detoxification, and that might make things even worse for you. So that's why I'm suggesting to start off with the other 2 first. Okay, so that was about estrogen reset. Another very common question we get is that about dosage, right? How much should I be using in terms of like how much magnesium should I be using? How much vitamin C should I be using? What is the right dose? And so there is the answer is, first of all, if you look at RDA, so recommended the recommended dosage, right? That's recommended by the government. Is a little bit of a joke. I mean, the RDAs are typically for people to survive, not to thrive. Okay, so this is almost like, the whole RDA concept came after Second World War, where people just like, what's the minimum nutrition that we need in order for the population to survive, right? We're not in a survival mode, we want to thrive. So the question, so again, like if you look at the RDA for vitamin C or vitamin D3, I mean, all of that is pretty much a joke. So you want to be going with something a little bit different. So in functional nutrition, what we use in terms of dosage when it comes to vitamin C and magnesium, the dose would depend on how depleted you are, okay? And many of you always ask, why is it that I don't recommend food to correct your nutritional deficiencies. And the reason is that I wrote about in the book, giving you an example, like, if you take, for example, if somebody is deficient in magnesium, one of the things that's high in magnesium is, for example, cashews, okay? You would need something like 2 to 3 cups of cashews every day in order to get 600 milligrams of magnesium. 600 milligrams is not even enough for most people who are truly depleted. And I'll tell you in a second, how do you know how to dose up? And you might figure out that actually you need a lot more than 600 milligrams. So to maintain your good health through nutrition is absolutely non-negotiable. But to replenish, if you're really, really low in magnesium, I'd highly recommend to do supplementation, especially temporarily. So although I take magnesium every day because magnesium is just very sparsely found in food these days, and it's very hard to get it from food alone. So it's called the bowel challenge, okay? And the bowel challenge basically means that you go up on the supplementation. So take, for example, vitamin C. We have a nice vitamin C called vitamin C burst. You take a vitamin C and you go up the dose until you get a loose stool. So let's just say, for example, our recommended dose here is 600 plus 2, so it's 800 milligrams. That's how much you have of vitamin C. So 800 milligrams is your starting point, right? And for that you need to take 1 capsule. And then you are like, your bowels are just, let's say you're constipated as always, or you are feeling like you still need a little bit more dosage, right? And your bowels are still normal. So what you do is you keep going up. You go up to 1200 the following day. You still nothing. Okay, well then you go up to another 800, right? So that will make it 2000 now, and you just go up and up and up until you get a loose bowel, and that's when you back off. Some people can be as deficient as having to take like 8 grams, which was basically 8,000 milligrams, right? And so 10 times of this in order to get a good bowel movement. The good news is that once you replenish, your vitamin C is fully absorbed in the body, then and is replenished, I should say, then that's when you can start backing off to lower doses. And so for someone like me, I just take 2 of those daily. So that's that's all I need, and that will make it like 800 times 2, so that's 1600. So 1.6 grams or 1600 milligrams. That's the dose. That's what I need. When I travel, when I'm stressed out, your adrenals burn through vitamin C very heavily. And that's when you need to probably up your dose. When you are, that's part of the reason why a lot of people who travel extensively or are stressed out don't get sick afterwards. Part of the reason is depletion of vitamin C. Now you do the same thing with magnesium, and I'm going to talk about different forms of magnesium in just a second. But magnesium, you can use magnesium malate as long as you're doing the bowel testing in the mornings, not at night. You can also use magnesium glycinate for that. And we have a great product called Magnesium Replenish. Unfortunately, we're out of stock right now. But if you sign up for notifications, then you get a reminder when it's back in stock, which is middle of May. And so you do the same thing with magnesium. So for example, our Mag Energy right here we've got 360 milligrams. So you start off with that, then you keep going up and up and up until you get a loose bowel. And almost like a diarrhea, and then you back off to a lower dose. And so that's basically your body's way of telling you, I'm done, I'm completed, back off. So let's talk a little bit about different types of magnesium, because since we're on magnesium, because not all magnesium is the same. And the interesting thing about one way for us to actually for you to determine, this is like a real shortcut, like a real, I think, good tip for you to, like if you have a favorite supplement company, you want to try them out, or you want to see, what's the quality of supplements there, and you don't know what to look for, right? The one thing you can do is take a look at what form of, if it's a multivitamin, look at their multivitamin. And the multivitamin, if it contains magnesium oxide, that's some pretty bad news. Magnesium oxide is a very cheap form of magnesium, very poorly absorbable. I've had people who started taking more and more magnesium and started developing joint pain, and then they got rid of that magnesium, they used another magnesium, and they felt way better. So it can deposit themselves in joints in a body, and so you should be avoiding that altogether. The 2 forms of magnesium I really like a lot is magnesium glycinate. It's got the best absorption, best bioavailability that's out there in the market. The other one is magnesium malate. That's the one our Mag Energy contains, malate, M-A-L-A-T-E, malate. And so those are great types of magnesium. Magnesium citrate is sort of my more distant favorite, if I can say that, is because citrate, what citrate does is that pulls water out of your intestines, and so it naturally causes diarrhea. It's great for constipation. Like I always struggle with magnesium citrate when when I'm on the road, which has been a while, because magnesium, because we don't travel so much anymore, right? And it's because I get constipated. My tendency is to get constipated when I travel, and so it's a really great way of not getting constipated when you're on the road. So that's, but it's not the best form of magnesium to replenish your levels, if you will. Okay, so it's just something to be mindful of. So Anna is asking, what about magnesium chloride? So magnesium chloride is generally used for topical applications, and so our quick magnesium, we have a product that's a topical product. This is really popular as well when you apply it on your shoulders, and when, like, for example, before going to bed, if you have restless leg syndrome, or if you're having a lot of muscle tension and aches and cramping happening at night before going to bed, or you wake up in the middle of the night having that, then applying that can really, really help a lot. So that's magnesium chloride. There's also magnesium sulfate, which is also known as Epsom salts. That's going to give you a massive diarrhea, so you don't do that internally. Yeah, my colleague Brittany just posted a link to the magnesium rotation method. You can see how you can use the different kinds of magnesium throughout the day. So, we've answered the question of what to take. So in the morning, you can actually take a lot of supplements, right? Because most of them is going to be really beneficial for you. It's a good idea to generally space out supplements throughout the day if you can. I do have reminders on my phone because I never remember. I do have a little box when it's got morning, it's got AM, PM, night. And so then I space them out. The more you space out your supplements, the more you're getting better absorption from them, because when you take too many supplements at the same time, these supplements do compete for absorption, okay? And so this is the reason why spacing them out is a really good idea. If you're coming in late, so what I was saying is that B vitamins and B complex, as well as magnesium malate, is not something that you should take at night because it can be highly stimulating. Now, again, everyone is a little different. So if you know that if you started taking a supplement that doesn't make you feel good, it stimulates you at night, or it doesn't make you feel good, you've got to stop. If it's from a good supplement company, it could be like a clean one. And I'm going to talk about clean supplements in just a second. Like what is a clean supplement? What to look out for, right? We'll cover this in a sec. But, if you're having a reaction from a really nice clean supplement company like ours, it's probably because the compound just doesn't agree with you. And you have to remember that we all, there's something called bioindividuality, right? Your food can be your medicine, that food can be my poison, right? And so we just have to be respectful of that. And sometimes we get people disappointed saying, I read about this review about the supplement you guys have, and and everybody's having these amazing results, and I'm the only one who doesn't. And actually, you're not the only one. You might be the minority, but a lot of times there's other things you can do to work on the symptoms. So don't be discouraged by that. Just honor that about your difference. So let's see. Do we have any questions, Brittany, before I move on to other topics? Like about the Jay is saying, I've tried all types of magnesium and did really well for a few years, but ever since magnesium and vitamin B2 both trigger migraines within half an hour. Why might this be? So actually, thanks for asking this question, because I just forgot that I didn't finish my thought. And that was, if you're getting a supplement from a really clean company and having a reaction, it could be that is the compound that causes it. If you're getting a supplement from a company that you got on a cheap on Amazon, although Amazon is cleaning up their act, which is great, and because it contains some triggering some fillers that might be triggering it. For example, I'm going to talk about fillers in a second, but like something like a zinc oxide, or it's got yeast in it, or it could be having some gluten in it, or dairy, or yeast, and you're highly reactive to those, or yellow color, then that could be the reason why you're having these reactions. And so, Jay, it also depends on what kind of magnesium. I would try different kinds of magnesium and see whether they go away. Interesting that you take B2 on its own. I wonder why. So, Instagram question from Melinda. She's asking, if I'm taking magnesium energy in the morning, is it still okay to take magnesium glycinate in the PM? Absolutely, great question. So that's what our magnesium rotation method is about, is to take malate in the morning. So mag energy is recommended in the morning. Then in the evening, you switch to magnesium, our magnesium replenish, which is magnesium glycinate. And this is a magnesium that kind of relaxes you and gets you ready for bed. It's not a sedative, so you're not going to fall asleep, but it's just going to start calming you down. And then we've got magnesium chloride, which we call quick magnesium, and that's for topical applications, like I described. And then we also have magnesium citrate, if in case you're occasionally constipated, then you incorporate that. So Melinda, absolutely, doing mag energy in the morning, glycinate in the afternoon is just a great solution. You said to take B vitamins in the mornings. Can you take them with thyroid medication? No. So thyroid meds, you always want to space them away from supplements, just because they could interfere. Same thing, you're spacing them out from coffee, from anything like containing salt and such. So definitely. Should I take DIM if in menopause with possible high and low estrogen? Will it metabolize the low estrogen as well? So no, it wouldn't. DIM really helps to skew the balance of moving from dirty estrogens towards clean estrogen. So no, it's not gonna like purge whatever little estrogens you have. I think that's what you're asking. The answer is no. Is it bad that taking magnesium makes my blood magnesium go up high? Does that mean I don't need to take it? So, Anna, the general rule with magnesium in functional medicine is to take it until, like I said, bowel movement happens, and this is where when we know what is the dose that you need and when to back off. So the other thing about something showing high on blood results is really interesting because the ranges in your lab work is actually, again, kind of like I was talking about, the RDA, so for people to live on rather than thrive. Labs are a little bit like that as well. So, but if you're concerned about it, then I would talk to your doctor about that. Does it matter when you take DIM, your supplement? No, it doesn't. So when you take your DIMs, no, it doesn't. So just want to say this one more time, that if we don't specify on a product when to take it on empty stomach or when specifically to take it, then it really wouldn't really matter. You can take it anytime you want. And I've already talked about whether to, for our estrogen reset kit, whether to take it together or separately. My recommendation is that if you're sensitive, then take it separate from each other, about 3 days to a week apart before you put them all together. I take them all together, but it's because I'm not sensitive to supplements that I know, and all three of them are actually helping me. All right, so let's move on to another topic under this discussion, which is ingredients that you should never find on your supplements. Hey, you guys, so, I know that you're getting a lot of education here, so you might be thinking like, oh, actually, you know what? Before we talk about that, sorry, Brittany, let's just talk about a little bit about our digestive bitters. So we have these digestive bitters because we also get questions about digestive bitters. So those are the bitters. This is the before a meal. This is the after the meal. And those are really wonderful digestive bitters that they taste really, really good. There's so many benefits of them. And, yes, they help you with digestion. It helps you with your stomach acid. It provokes for you to, it kind of stimulates your digestive juices to flow, so you extract more from the food. They help balance blood sugar levels. They help with constipation. They they stimulate peristalsis, which is the movement of the bowels, right? So that's why people report not being constipated. And there you go. That's our website for the digestive bitters. If you could put the link, that would be great too. So the before, tends to be a little bit more on the bitter side, but it's still, you guys, we worked on it for 8 months to make sure that it tastes really good. And I didn't want to make bitters that are just like, if you've experienced digestive bitters before, you're probably, if you're not an herbalist, you probably want to put in your mouth going, ugh, that is nasty. I'm never going to do this again. So we formulate it in a way that it really works well, but it also tastes good. So the light orange one, this one here, that's your digestive bitter before a meal. And many of you ask, when do you take this? So as the name implies, you take it like 10 to 15 minutes before a meal, or just before the meal is fine. And some people say, I keep forgetting that. I get that. So what I do is I put it on my table. So I'm actually on my dining table where I sit and eat is like right there, right next to the flower pot. And then we have the other one, which is the after. You can see here it's written after right there. And this is the after a meal. And you can start off with 1 squirt if you are sensitive. 4 squirts constitute a full serving, okay? Hadley is saying, I love the bitters. Thank you, Hadley. So this is when you take them. And don't worry about it. Like if you forgot the before, you still can do the after. And if you want to do the before after meal, it's fine too. Like it doesn't matter so much. And by the way, when you get it as a set, you also get the free bag from our with our little Wellena logo on this, and it's an organic cotton fair trade baggie. So that's about bitters. Let's talk about the thing that I promised you, and that is what your ingredients should not contain. So what your supplements should not contain in terms of ingredients. So there's a few deadly giveaways, and so this is a list that you can screenshot this right now. If you're listening on Instagram, I guess you have to listen. So the first one is titanium oxide. It's a very common filler that's put onto cheap supplements. It's been categorized as a class 2 potential carcinogenic substance. So I don't know about you, but if something is potentially carcinogenic, I'll stay away from it as much as I can. Zinc oxide, zinc oxide can be used on your skincare, like for example, in sunblocks. We're going to be talking about sunblocks in a couple of weeks. We finally found a brand we actually like. So we'll talk about that more, but zinc oxide belongs to the outside, not on the inside. So again, that's oftentimes used as a filler or as a coating mechanism. Magnesium oxide is the same thing. Those are often also used to when you're putting the powder into a capsule and the machine spins them out, like you need this powdery thing that moves them along. So oftentimes those are the things that they use, the titanium oxide, zinc oxide, magnesium oxide. Those are just not great ingredients at all. The other deadly giveaway, if you're taking a multivitamin and you look at the multivitamin, instead of saying folate, it says folic acid. That's a synthetic version of folate. And again, not a very well absorbable one. Dr. Ben Lynch is a big, talks a lot about that and how actually it really messes you up. So again, we want to stay away from that. It's got any form of coloring, if it's coloring like coming from beets, like we use beets, for example, in some of our supplements, right? Because it gives like a really nice pinkish hue to a supplement, then yes. But if it's something like you see in colors, such as, for example, FDNC yellow 5, for those of you who have kids, you might have heard like how children there's been studies now showing that the yellow and the red color are actually causing hyperactivity and ADD and ADHD in children. So it's kind of interesting. And then, especially if you're sensitive, I think everybody should be just avoiding gluten, period. And if you're sensitive to soy and dairy, then even more so. Those are the things, I will just tell you that right away, our supplements are not cheap. But there's also a reason why they're not cheap. We do spend a lot of time and effort into sourcing cleanest ingredients, into making them. And supplement companies that cut the corners, if you will, oftentimes use these ingredients here that you see on the list or Instagram. Those are the ones that I mentioned, and I highly recommend for you to avoid them. So instead, what you want to see is a few other things. So you definitely want to see people, you want to see a label on it that says that it's made in a GMP facility. So for example, in ours, let me just move this away. So this is our GMP facilities right there. You want to look for that logo. Companies that manufacture in a GMP facility would always state that because it's something to be proud of. GMP is not easy to obtain. It's a highly regulated, space of you measuring you testing the ingredients when they come into the factory. Everything is absolutely logged. You know exactly what batches when. They do all the testing to making sure there is no heavy metals in it, there is no contaminants of any sort, there's no yeast, bacteria, etc. in the raw material, and then the final batches then get tested again, and typically they get tested in the third-party labs, not in the same lab, and so we pay for all these lab testing as well. So it's quite a process to be a GMP, very documentation intensive, and typically a fly-by-night supplement company would not do that. So that's that. And then a couple of others, like I mentioned, folate. We always want to make sure that you're looking for folate, not folic acid. That's a dead giveaway. And then in the other last thing I'm just going to mention is that you want to, when you have a B vitamin, and even though you're not buying from this particular company, I think if you just want to understand the philosophy of the company and overall how they work, you can just go and look up their B complex or their multivitamin. And if they are using B12 in cyanocobalamin form, there's the cheapest and awful form of B12, which really nobody should be taking. It's not even methylated. So a truly good supplement and a good ingredient that was going to agree with your body is going to really help you with B12 is a methylated form, and you will see methylcobalamin. So that is that's the difference right there. So I hope these pointers are somewhat helpful for you to kind of evaluate, your own supplements. We are recording this. I'm on Instagram. I'm going to upload this later to our videos, so you can play it back just in case you didn't catch something. Always remember that supplements are bio-individual, meaning that you might be reading raving reviews on our website, but then they might not necessarily agree with you 100%. And so there's nothing wrong with that. And there's just other tools to help yourself other than that particular supplement, right? So Susan is saying no limit to take that daily intake of B12. No, there is actually a limit. You don't want to be overdoing with B vitamins. It depends on again, it's like depends a little bit on how depleted you are, and there's no real good test for B12 unless same as vitamin D3, you want to get tested and then determine from there what is the dose that you need. But yeah, you don't want to be overdoing that either. What are your thoughts on supplements for polycystic ovarian syndrome? So the biggest thing is change of diet. First of all, most women with polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, have high blood sugar levels combined with insulin resistance, very high inflammation. And so, supplement alone without a diet change is only going to take you that far. In my book, Overcoming Estrogen Dominance, there's a whole chapter on PCOS and how do you basically change your diet to reduce the inflammation, control your blood sugar levels. A supplement that we have in our store contains things like berberine and cinnamon. You can take a look at that. Is basically berberine is just a wonderful one. It's studies show that it's as effective as metformin, and that's to sensitize your insulin receptors, which is often the case. Insulin resistance is often the case with women with PCOS. So berberine 500 milligrams can be super helpful. Combined with diet change, a bit of cinnamon, this can be really, really great. Okay, so if I take the bitters, do I still need to take digestive enzymes as well? Okay, so that's a very common question too. Thank you for asking that. I forgot to talk about that. Yes, so digestive enzymes, so what's the difference? So the difference is fundamentally how they work is different. So when you take digestive bitters, okay, the first thing is, the reason why they're called bitters is because they're actually slightly bitter. So when you squirt that in your mouth, what happens is there's a whole cascade of biological processes that happen, okay? And so first of all, your saliva starts, like just now I choked up a little bit when I squirted it in, is because I had actually an excess of saliva right away. And I'm actually still salivating a little bit more because I took that bitter. Okay, so your saliva is needed because you've got an enzyme here called amylase that breaks down your carbohydrates, and then it goes down and your stomach acid improves, and then it stimulates the pancreas to release other enzymes, and then the peristalsis in the digestion, moves, and all of that stuff is happening. So when you take digestive bitters, it's a little bit like having a bit of a knock in your own body, going like, move. Here I am. I'm just gonna give you a little bit of a knock, just to move the digestion a little bit, right? Release more, do more for me. Digestive enzymes work very differently. You're basically taking digestive enzymes when your body is not producing enough enzymes, or to support your body with enzymes to extract more food. So they are completely two very different. I personally like to take digestive bitters first to kind of stimulate my own body's production of enzymes. Because remember, your body is able to produce enzymes, right? But as we age, we might not be producing as many digestive enzymes as we were before. So this is where taking digestive enzymes can really be good in supplementing. I won't be overdoing them. That's why I like to start off with digestive bitters, starting off with that. And if you feel like, the nutrition is still a bit wonky, it's still not moving as fast as you want it to be, then it's a good time to then incorporate digestive enzymes after meals, right? And see how that helps you. So they are not one or the other, it can actually be one and the other. I hope that helps. Okay. Yeah, so our supplements are available on wellena.com. That's our brand, just in case you're new to our stuff. And hey, Instagrammers, let me know whether you guys find this helpful, and if this is something you would want me to do on a more regular basis, then I'll make it a point to then come back on Instagram more often and do this every week. I do this every week on everywhere else. Can you post the bitters link? Amanda is asking. Yeah, sure. We can do that. You can also head on to wellena.com and you will see the bitters there. All right, you guys. I hope this was helpful and you have learned something new. And I will see you next week for another dose of a lot of fun educational videos. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.